Anthony, give us your thoughts on the market response to these SK Hynix numbers, because we've seen incredible jumps in profitability, the charts going round around operating profit jumping really strongly, look quite incredible, and yet the stock drops. I just wonder if the stock performance is attached to the news flow for SK Hynix anymore. Such is the expectation here.
Yeah, expectations are the key moment. It's not the absolute number. It's what does the market expect. And on the operating profit side, it was a clean miss versus those expectations. And it's important to put those expectations in context. There are 45 buys on this stock and 0 sells. And the debate around the strength of that result and how far that Hynix can hang on to 80% plus margins, that is what is driving the 15% intraday swing in the Kospi today. So there was a very early bump as people, as you correctly said, they focused on how big these numbers are on an absolute basis, how fast the growth is, how strong the pricing power is. But then over the course of the session and into the analyst call, you heard these rather aggressive questions from the Korean domestic broker base in particular about the sustainability of the AI boom and the pricing power maintenance that Hynix will be able to hold. So they were quite defensive about their HBM position. They said that it's a very strong technological moat that should hold into the next couple of years. They're also talking about mass producing their next generation of HBM4E. So there was some positive pushback from the company, but instead the street is functioning on show me the money now, the operating profit that we expected, and further, tell me about your shareholder return program. That was another kind of disappointment to the market. There was nothing announced, and that was put down to the fact that they've just released an ADR and they're kind of constrained on that front. So what's very interesting to see in the next couple of days is how will the street respond to this earnings result. Bear in mind the median street or the average street an analyst rating on this stock is a buy, and the target price is almost double where the stock is right now. So there is some adjustment that is probably going to come from the street, and what does that look like going forward? Now, in terms of the last thing, the elephant in the room, is how much can Chinese competition disrupt this HBM market, disrupt the DRAM market, disrupt the NAND market? And we did see how sensitive Hynix is to those changes in its results, because a slight shift in the product mix caused the OP miss.
So we know that this is a typically volatile stock, but how much should we read into these big moves, Anthony? Should we be worried about AI slowing down, being over, supply chain risks as well?
Yeah, it's a very interesting confluence of flow and fundamentals here, right? The flow, first of all, let's address that. It's massive. Today, for example, in Korea, you're seeing local domestics, buy a couple of $1 billion, again selling from foreigners and individuals. Individuals are very long Hynix, as you guys have been covering, on the leveraged ETF front in both the US and in Korea and in Hong Kong. So how much of that cutting has to continue? How much de-risking has to happen for volatility of this size? Because this is a core large position. Core large positions are not supposed to swing 15% intraday. So people have to adjust their position sizing to this volatility, to the first half of your point. In the second half of your point, we continue to be exposed to a very rapidly growing Chinese disruption. And the pace of the Chinese disruption seems to be increasing into the back end of this year as China catches up from the hardware and software side. So what advances will come out of China that kind of look to erode this HBM advantage Korea has, that is going to be a fundamental driver. And it's really interesting to see the street react to this confluence of events. There's a lot of flow notes out there. There's a lot of fundamental technology analysis. But in truth, we are going to move from a binary kind of price action to really detailed focused trading of tech in the back half of the year. We've seen that significant dispersion in the tech trade in the US, and that's coming to Asia probably.